This is Christine with Shortcut to Happiness at the Conscious Life Expo 2020. We are returning with
Elizabeth HeartStar. Hello.
And we are going to be discussing her friend and her real 3D friend, and she's going to tell us all about it. There is much information out there on this. Very few of them are legitimate, so be careful, but keep an open mind.
Let's see where to start. I wanted to share an experience. In 2004, can we start over?
Just continue here.
Oh, you can cut it. Okay. I've lived in Sedona since 1990, and have been. I don't know how to start it. Let's see, because I want to talk about.
Just talk about how he came to
okay,
you
that's
and
what I.
back up.
Okay. I'm gonna move him like over here, so he's like there. I think I'll start with. I've lived in Sedona since 1990. And as you know, it's a spiritual center and a vortex of incredible energies. And many people come from many places to Sedona over the years, channeling all kinds of things. And my life lesson being in Sedona has been discernment. I believe that I have it now. It's been a 30-year process of learning discernment, because a lot of people say a lot of things and bring through a lot of energies, and you have to really listen to your own inner knowing and your own inner voice for what is your truth. So, having been in Sedona for so long, many crystal skulls came up all of a sudden. I worked doing my astrology readings in a place called Crystal Castle from 1995 to 2000, doing my astrology. And I didn't really understand, what are these crystal skulls? Most people get a little creeped out by them because we're used to the skull and bone, and right. And there was a whole case of crystal skulls, and I used to do my readings upstairs above the shop. And when I'd go up, there was one which was always beaming at me, and I was kind of like, didn't really understand crystal skulls until Spirit guided me to England, to Glastonbury. I didn't know really where Glastonbury was in England. It's actually in the southwest, I found out. But I was meditating one morning, and I was going through like a dark night of the soul time, which, we go through occasionally. Us light workers, or sensitives, whatever you want to call us, It's like, I was, taking a tab going, not that I was going to do it, but it was like, goodbye, cruel world. It was all about discernment. It was that was my first experience. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't have discernment. Okay. And I looked at these red rocks that I could see from my couch where I would meditate. And as a matter of fact, I have the picture right there of this. I'm going to show it to you because it's not one that people are real aware of. But it's right by Thunder Mountain in Sedona. And when I looked at these rocks, I was like a bird flying. I felt whenever I would look, I was triggered, and I was just free of this dark night. But for me, it was like that's taking me back to England, where I lived for a year when I was 17 and always wanted to go back. And I would ask people, like a British woman, what does that remind you of, that rock? Where in England is this, My friend said it was because there were so many ley lines coming through. That's what I was feeling. I said, no, there's a place in England. And when I went to Glastonbury a few months later, I saw the Glastonbury tour, which the picture is right here. The Glastonbury tour is right there. And I realized that this was what was calling me. And it's known as the ancient Isle of Avalon, Glastonbury. because this was Avalon. And I believe Avalon is an archetypal city like Shambhala, just as Shambhala is, but it's the Western equivalent. And so the round table, the equality, the oneness, the 12 around the one, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 disciples, the zodiac of 12 constellations are all, and this is why I use this Stargate, what I call the Avalon Stargate.
Just to tell you, I saw a city over Ventura when I was having lunch one day. No idea the name of it, but I took a photo of it. There's many, yes, many cities out there.
Cities of light. Yes. Okay. So when I met a man named Louis who has a booth here. He has a shop called Stone Age in Glastonbury, and he came to Sedona after a crystal show, because he's been doing crystal shows since the 90s or before, and he said to me, I'd like to open a Stone Age in Sedona. I'm in England, would you run it for me? And I was in between things at the time. I was like, yeah. So we found the shop. It's actually on 89A. It's called Stone Age Sedona, and it's in the oldest Red Rock gift shop. It was built in, I believe, the 50s when they did the movies. All of the Westerns were filmed in Sedona. We grew up on the Westerns, right? And so it's still there, Stone Age Sedona. So I was in the shop, and it was... we opened on October 1st of 2004, and because I'm an astrologer, it was a very special alignment on October 1st, which was called a grand quintile pattern over Tibet, where in Sedona it was 6 a.m., and it was a five-pointed star. Quintile is a five-pointed star with aspects around it, so it's a pentagram, which is actually a very positive symbol of Venus. It's not the devil. You know, everything that's feminine, the 13 is the 13 moons. Right. You know, we're coming into like women are not, evil, and the pentagram is Venus, which is love. And so there was this beautiful quintile aspect in the heavens when we opened, and it was beautiful. So it was New Year's Eve, and my best friend surprised me, who lives in Northern California, to celebrate New Year's with me the next day. And we had a fairy shop in the shop. Beautiful, all kinds of fairies. This man who did beautiful bronze, and then he did some less expensive that looked like bronze, and all these little ones and big ones, and I had fairy lights, and we had this giant pendulum. Have you seen those sand pendulums that hang from the ceiling?
Oh, no.
Yeah, they hang from the ceiling, and so depending on, they make these sacred geometries with the movement of the earth, the pendulums and things.
Yes, they often have them at the observatories from around the world, so you can really see there's something going on with the energies and the swings of the universe.
So my friend came in, and we were just starting to close the shop when she surprised me. December 31st of 2004, going into 2005. And this little boy whose mother owns the best Thai restaurant in Sedona, Thai Spices, came in, and he's like, oh, can I just show my grandma before you open? She's just here for New Year's. The pendulum. I said, yeah, sure. And he knew all these sacred geometries, this little 8-year-old. And so I went with my friend and her native partner and into the Red Rocks and did some ceremonies for bringing in the new year. And the next morning I went into the shop to open early, and I turned on the fairy lights. And when I got to the sand pendulum, there was a perfect 5-pointed star with a circle around it, that blew my mind. That's his 12-pointed star.
Wow.
But this is
in the same energy.
Yes. And I got on the phone and I phoned Louie, who's over here, and I said, I didn't have a cell phone then or camera. I never really took, but because this was done, it was almost like a crop circle in the sand, because usually the pendulum makes lots of lines. This was a perfect 5-pointed star with a circle around it. It was mind-blowing. And so for me, that was a sign. And a few days later, on January 4th, as I'm closing, this beautiful couple from Canada had driven down from Alberta to go to the gem show in Tucson to sell these Alberta opals. Incredible. They look like beautiful opals. They're fossilized in Alberta somehow. And her 2 little girls wanted the little fairies. And so she opened her hand and she said, would you trade these Alberta opals for some fairies? Because the girls want them and we're on our way to the Tucson show. And I looked at them and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this. There was one that looked like a candy apple red, green, like out of this world, and this violet one. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll trade for some fairies. Go get them, girls. And then I fell in love with the little girls and the family. And I said, I've got an extra room, and you want to stay with me? Where are you going to stay? They said, we don't know. We just wanted to come to Sedona. We've never been. We're on our way. I said, well, let's go.
Right.
So I made a meal, got the beds ready, and she brought out, she said, I think you'll like this little crystal skull I have. It's not.
Now we're getting to something really special and unique. And like we both said, you use discernment, but this is the real deal.
So she said, I have a little crystal skull. I think you'll really love its energy. How about if I put it in your bedroom? And well, I was like, okay. It didn't scare me. And, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, whoa, what is this energy in the room? Then I was like, oh, that little crystal skull. And I held the little crystal skull. This is its friend. There is a group of 8. I'll share this. And I held the crystal skull named Star. She named it Star. And I don't even know how to describe it. It was almost like I was connected with the all and with the universe, and I was time traveling. It was, mind-blowing. And the next day, they stayed 4 nights. And the next night, I had the same experience. And I always get up at about 3 in the morning, so it's not unusual. But they were still asleep. And my dear friend Thelma Daisy Moran, who will be 96 this year on April 27th, who's been a pure channel of healing energy. And I phoned her in England because I knew it was like noon there or whatever time she was up. And I said, Thelma, I'm holding this incredible crystal skull. And she said, oh my gosh, I can feel its energy. She said, go get a pen and a paper, because she would channel inspired poetry and I would usually write it down. She said, I've never experienced where I'm not holding it myself, but I'm getting something. Get a pen. So it's in the book, because I wrote a book about Thelma and how we met and how the incredible crystal skulls. So this is HeartStar, and Star is one of the 8 ancient Himalayan crystal skulls that were uncovered in 2002 by a man who collected ancient relics. With the 8 Himalayan crystal skulls, 16 large ones were found as well, so 24 in all.
Wow.
Very different than the 8. There's pictures of them in the book. So before dawn, and I called them the Star family. The mother's name was Dawn, Marcel, and the 2 little girls, gorgeous little girls, Ellie and Dove. And I called them the Star family. And when they were leaving, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're taking Star? I said, how did you get Star? And she told me the story of this man finding these ancient relics, and a woman who had collected a lot of his, usually he would do jade pieces that he would find, and this woman in New Jersey, Alea Frisch is her name, he asked her if she would take the 8 small Himalayan crystal skulls to find the right caretakers, guardians for them, because he knew they needed to go to the right people.
This is a standard story with true skulls, that they are seeking their counterpart here, working whatever magic that they're working.
So I said, well, are there any more of the 8 that she said, I think there's still at least 2 or 3 that she is looking for caretakers. And I said, would you get me in touch with her? I've never experienced anything like this. I feel like I'm meant to have one if it's meant to be. So she did, and she sent me pictures of the 3 that were still left, and right away I saw this one. And I said, that's my little ancient crystal skull. And before HeartStar, whose name came to me before HeartStar arrived, I knew that it was a really special, I knew this was going to change my life. And so I phoned a man named David K. Miller, who's an incredible, very pure, humble channel that lives in Prescott, Arizona.
I love Prescott.
Yes, I do too. I know. I always think I'm going to leave Sedona, but
you can't leave Sedona. I want to party in Prescott, but you have to be in Sedona.
Party in Prescott, good. Okay. I go every month at least once or twice, and I usually go see David because he's an incredible channel for the Arcturians and other amazing beings. And I phoned him before HeartStar arrived and said, may I have a session with you? Can you tune in to this ancient Himalayan crystal skull that's coming to me? And I would like to read, it's short, from the book, because what came through him was quite profound. And I believe that it's true.
Well, she's looking for that section in the book. I want to give you an example of what happened with this. We're doing... Excuse me. We're doing a few interviews this weekend at the Conscious Life Expo 2020. And I kept thinking of Elizabeth, so I finally came back, and she was always talking to someone. So we ended off for the night thinking we'd come back today. And she had a similar experience where before she left this morning and she was thinking of her lipstick or something, she realized that she should bring her buddy with her. So that's why I didn't get to talk to Elizabeth again yesterday, because he was supposed to show himself.
Yes, I wasn't planning to bring HeartStar because I felt like it was too much energy, and HeartStar made it very clear when I first got HeartStar, when we went to see the famous Max, that he was not a Max. He was not a big shiny crystal skull. He was not to be put on stage as a showpiece, and I wasn't to charge money, although people can always send donations. I always say to HeartStar, well, if you want us to go places, no, that's not his purpose. His purpose is the people that are meant to find him, because he's connected, as I'm going to read what David said. I have had confirmation of everything that David said before HeartStar arrived. So I'd like to read this. So I set up the appointment to see David. I felt he could tune into HeartStar and the Himalayan crystal skulls and share their message with me. The first thing David said was that the ancient crystal skull had found me again. It came to activate ancient memory and to remind and activate in all receptivity and faith in the universe. HeartStar would also open me to my latent gifts. David said more activation and teachings would come through, especially crystal healing methods, which have come recently.
I just want to say that there is many ancient sites, people, tools that may activate you. The veil is getting really thin, and we will see what abilities, memories may be coming to us.
Yes. So I asked him how old they were, and he said the Himalayan crystal skulls have been in existence for over 10,000 years, have been imprinted by the Tibetan Himalayan masters for the evolution of consciousness. When I asked if they had names, he responded by saying they had many unusual and exotic names connected to them that would not be familiar to me or necessary to know. He said, "You may be familiar with the one known as the Tibetan Dwal Kul." David did not know that I had felt a great resonance and connection with the ascended master Dwal Kul, known as the Tibetan, since 1971 when I read Esoteric Astrology by Alice Bailey. So Alice Bailey, which many people know, channeled the Tibetan Dwal Kul.
So there is more in the book in which people can read.
Yes.
But I just want to introduce that there is very interesting information out there.
This is a picture of Dwal Kul that people might be familiar with. And in the last 3 years, my guides through David Miller, the Arcturians, I've connected with the Arcturians. I've met my Arcturian self. I believe that we're multidimensional and we have existences in other dimensions. And they asked me to start channeling. So I've been practicing as they asked me to for about 3 years. I haven't come out as a channel yet, but it's going to happen because I know that there's important information. I just never thought of myself as being a channel like other people because, like I said, discernment. And I want to only bring through what's pure and true. But as David and the Arcturians and Dwal Kul, who's come through many times, have said, I'm ready to do that. So
there is a lot of information out there, and she touched upon many people, many topics. It is even said, watching crop circles, you can download information by just looking at the pictures. I hope you find your own truth and that which actually enlightens you, makes you happy, brighter, and more encouraged. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Christine. I'm so glad you're going to be in Sedona.
This is Christine with Shortcut to Happiness. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon. I enjoy being with you.